This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 598 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by ECOGOLD, saddle pads and protective boots for your equine athlete. Greetings everyone, Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from Dr. Wendy Ying. Dr. Ying is co-host of The Driving Show here on the Horse Radio Network and a doctor of veterinary medicine who practices traditional Chinese medicine in her practice, 5 Elements for Animals. She is also an active competitor in the sport of combined driving and also enjoys fox hunting. Today's tip is part 2 on dealing with witchy mares. They're out there, folks, so you might as well have some ammo. But first, a word from today's sponsor, ECOGOLD. ECOGOLD uses the latest developments in textile engineering plus smart design to make the most advanced saddle pads and protective boots available. Here's what 2-time Canadian Olympic 3-day coach, international competitor, and author Jane Savoy has to say about ECOGOLD pads. I love the ECOGOLD dressage pad. I love the way it looks and how it stays perfectly in place. But most importantly, I love the frictionless feature that ensures that my horses are happy. If you care about your horse's comfort, you'll love this pad too. Ask for ECOGOLD frictionless saddle pads at your local tack supplier store or visit them online at ecogold.ca. Now, enjoy today's tip.
And it's time for Dr. Ying's Chinese Medicine Update. Cue the music. Well, hi, Dr. Ying.
Hi, Glenn. How are you?
Okay, well, it was really ironic that we talked about bitchy mares last week as part of your update, and then I go down to visit my brother, and, of course, they have a bitchy mare who really gets grumpy that time of the month. You know, when
Was she chestnut?
Yes, actually. You know?
How did I know?
So she caught a horse, and she just gets grumpy. I mean, just grumpy, and I told her to listen into last week's episode. So hopefully she could get some help with what to do with that particular grumpy, bitchy mare. But you actually wanted to do a follow-up to that too, didn't you?
I did, because I had some questions after that show about, you know, if they're not bitchy, maybe they just like want to have sex all the time.
Horny. They're horny mares.
Horny.
Syndrome.
Instead of the bitchy mare, they're not bitchy, they're horny. So that's like a different personality. So the bitchy mare was like the wood personality, and they get angry. But the horny mare is a fire personality. So the fire personality, if you remember, they're like the diva. They love to be loved. They're happy all the time. Like their emotion is joy. But they can be like oversexed. Like when they get unbalanced, like they don't care who it is. They just want it. You know.
So there are nymphomaniacs with horses too?
Yeah, and you know, that's just for this, you kind of have to separate it. Like, I know I anthropomorphize a lot with the animals, and especially with the 5 elements thing. But for this, it's not like the same way that people would go after, because there's not a lot of emotional attachment involved. It's just their hormones are raging. So it's more like, you know, teenagers. So their hormones are really raging, and they need to satisfy that.
By the way, for a lot of us
urge.
guys, that never changes. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I have to.
But in a way, this is a little bit easier to deal with, because they're not so angry and they're not as mad. But there's still a lot of issues you have to deal with, because you don't really like to ride them when they're squirting all over your friends, or
Yes.
like you said, carriage driving.
Carriage driving.
That was gross. I didn't even think about that, because I don't
we've had
drive
it happen.
mares.
That's why.
That's so gross.
It is gross. I'm not gonna. It's gross.
So the treatment would be the same with standard treatment. So you could keep them on Regimate, or you could use an injectable, like a GnRH vaccine, or you can, not drive them when they're doing that or keep them away from boy horses or whatever. But if you wanted to do herbal therapy, then the herbal therapy and the acupuncture therapy would be you'd want to regulate the heart meridian.
Okay.
You know, so that you regulate the fire meridian so that you don't get so unbalanced. So you want to, you know, tone down the heart points.
Okay.
So the different formulas that you can use. I like for that, I would have to look at the horse and decide what formula. A lot of times we use a Shen calmer, which is a really common herbal formula that we use for calming horses, but that also like really works on the heart meridian and also makes them concentrate more on their job. So I use that a lot in show horses so they can stay focused. Because, you know, when they're raging hormones like that, they listen to their hormones more than they listen to their person for their job.
This is sounding all very familiar, to be honest with you, being a guy.
It is? This is what happens to you?
This happens to every guy through teenage years till you're about 85, and then it's no longer an issue. Pretty much is our entire life right there.
Right, because you still have the hormones. So that's what you have to do. You have to regulate the hormones. So you have to think to yourself.
So I need Regimate, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, you need I think, Glenn, you should just use your brain and overcome. But with the horses, it's sometimes hard to say, listen, Mare, just use your brain. Stop looking over this. But then also sometimes even the happy mares, the fire mares, they'll still get sore because once they ovulate, they get like a little bruise in their ovary. So if you're going to a show and they get in the trailer with this really handsome, adorable, you know, horse, and they come in season there and your show's 4 days long, I mean, there is a chance that she'll be really sore in her back, or, you know, on her sides when you touch your leg on her sides later on in that show. So even if it's more than just the squirting, that's the problem.
Okay, so if but the squirting is an issue, and that you can help that with the...
Yeah, you can help that because that is like a hormonal imbalance.
Okay.
So with acupuncture and Chinese medicine, we try to balance the body. So just like in hormonal situations, they sometimes rage out of control. So you need to regulate that. So there's lots of herbs and acupuncture points that can regulate the hormones. I'm not saying that that's like the cure-all. Like
right.
Sometimes there's something else. What if it has a huge granulosa cell tumor, right? What if it has a big ovarian tumor? And that's why she's in season 24/7. Like there's lots of different reasons. So once you've ruled out all these reasons and you say, okay, it's not any medical reason, it's a hormonal imbalance, now I can deal with it. And whether that be with Regimate or whether that be with Chinese medicine, those are ways that you can regulate your horse so they can be continue to do their job, whether it's trail riding or showing or driving or whatever.
And are there specific herbs that are in this formula that help with it?
Well, like I said, there's all different formulas.
Okay.
Shen Calmer is just the, like the main one, the most general formula. And Shen Calmer has it's kind of interesting. It has oyster shell in it.
Really?
Yeah, so it's ground up oyster shell is one of the main ingredients. And that is like heavy. Right? Like oyster shells are like there's some herbs that are light, they're flowers, but oyster shells are heavy. And so the heavy powder is supposed to bring the Shen back to its house, which is the brain. Like if they get too crazy, right, then their thoughts are just like escaping. They're all over the place. So the oyster is supposed to bring the thoughts back inside to like weight it down and bring it inside.
Interesting.
But that's how we think about Chinese medicine. I'm sure that with the oyster shell, there's a lot of, there's calcium carbonate in there. There's magnesium in there. There's a lot of ions and things in there that also work like that. But the way that I've been trained to use these herbs is to think about it in a different kind of way.
Very interesting.
Sorry about that choking in the background. That's my dog.
And what exactly does your dog need?
When she doesn't get attention, she has this new thing where she just like chokes. Thinks I'm going to come running. I'm not coming running.
You're a vet, so you're going to come running. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So was there anything else in regard to this bitchy mare issue?
I don't think so. That's how I would treat it. I would go in and kind of look, see their personality. That's the biggest thing. Like this case would be one where, like in the beginning when I first started talking about this series, I always diagnose the personality of the horse when I go to look at it. But some cases, the personality is not a big issue. Like if it has a sore foot or a bad back, like it's nice to know their personality, but
it doesn't matter whether they're water or fire. They still have a bad back.
Right. I have to treat their back. So, but this is a case where it's really important that I diagnose their personality, and I would really diagnose the personality of the owner when I'm there too, because that's going to let me know, how to go about it. Because some owners would be like, this mare's going to show, God damn it, and blah, 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 and she has to win. Then and then I know that they're willing to put in whatever it takes to fix this problem. Yeah. But there's others that are like for example, I am a pet owner and I go to the shows to enjoy my pets. Right? So that's why I don't have mares, because I don't want to put in the time to do all this stuff. Like I want to take nice geldings and I'm going to have a fun time and we're all going to get along. So that's another big issue of it. I think that in my practice, how I can be most successful is to foster the relationship between the owner and the animal so that they have a happy life together. Because horses are expensive. If you're spending all your money and time at the barn, and I think that you should have a good time while you're there.
Right.
Well, there you go. Don't let your witchy mare get in the way of your good time at the barn. To listen to all of Wendy's tips, just go to Horse Tip Daily and go to the Experts drop-down menu on the left. You can also go to her website, 5elementsforanimals.com. Use the digits, don't spell it out, 5elementsforanimals.com. If you just can't get enough of Wendy and Glenn, you can listen to them every week on the Driving Radio Show. Just go to drivingradioshow.com. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they make these podcasts possible. Today's sponsor has been ECOGOLD. Just ask for ECOGOLD saddle pads and protective horse boots by name at your local tack store and you'll be happy you did. Or visit them online at ecogold.ca. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like us to cover on the show. You can subscribe to all of the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.